The Democrats' most recent reckless tax and spending spree suffers from some serious policy whiplash. Just last week, all but one Democrat voted to provide nearly $80 billion in subsidies to some of the largest and most profitable corporations in the world, in the world. The goal then was to make America a more favorable business environment to attract investments from a critical industry. But mere hours later, they unveiled a huge tax hike on domestic manufacturing. Democrats tried to justify this 180-degree policy turn by claiming their tax hike is necessary to make corporations, quote unquote, pay their fair share. However, this claim is laughable given the so-called CHIPS Plus bill nearly all Democrats enthusiastically supported last week. As I pointed out at that time, the CHIPS Plus bill ensures many large, very profitable semiconductor manufacturers will pay zero tax or even receive payments from the IRS exceeding any tax liability. Yet Senator Sanders was the only Democrat to express any concern about these profitable companies paying nothing in taxes. Under the Democrats' so-called book minimum tax, large profitable corporations favored by Democrats can still escape paying any federal tax. While they claim their reckless tax and spending bill will ensure companies pay their fair share, they include carve-outs and expanded subsidies for their favorite industries. For example, business tax credits are carved out from Democrats' book minimum tax, including a myriad of souped-up green energy tax breaks. This is despite the fact that research by the Liberal Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy confirms these credits are a significant reason why seemingly profitable companies pay little or no tax. The Democrats' bill not only carves out certain tax credits, it doubles down with $270 billion in corporate tax subsidies in the name of their Green New Deal agenda, along with a new provision that allows green energy developers to sell their credits to others. A host of businesses and industries will be able to use this new loophole to pay little or no tax. This could include financial institutions, private equity firms, tech firms, and wealthy private investors. Democrats' message to the business community is very clear. If you are a large Democrat-aligned green energy industry, you have nothing to worry about. Paying your fair share of taxes is optional. But if you are a domestic textile or electronics manufacturer, prepare to be taxed into submission. This mindset is especially concerning given our increasingly fragile economy. Late last week, we learned our economy contracted for the second straight quarter, indicating, as we know, we're in a recession. The last thing businesses and families need right now are tax hikes and a rash of poorly vetted policies, creating even more confusion and uncertainty in the economy. Nonpartisan analyses by the Joint Committee on Taxation and outside groups show this is exactly what Democrats are offering. During the election, Democrats promised not to raise taxes on anyone earning less than $400,000, but the Joint Committee on Taxation confirms their proposal does exactly the opposite. For 2023 alone, Democrats propose a $17 billion tax hike on families and individuals making less than $200,000. While Democrats' tax hike hit Americans of all incomes, their proposed benefits are targeted at a privileged few. like helping wealthy Americans purchase $80,000 electric SUVs. According to Joint Committee on Taxation, the original version of their bill had a whopping $155 billion tax hike on domestic manufacturing stemming from their so-called book minimum tax. The National Association of Manufacturers estimated this tax hike would cost more than 200,000 jobs, reduce labor income by $17 billion, and reduce GDP by nearly $70 billion. Now, I understand Senator Sinema has since secured changes to the book minimum tax that may lessen the burden on domestic manufacturing. However, even if we assume all the relief secured by Senator Sinema accrues to manufacturers, the best case scenario is manufacturers will still see a $100 billion increase tax hit. Democratic Inflation Act still throws blue-collar workers overboard for their Green New Deal. The Democrats' war on manufacturing is mind-boggling. Members of both parties have stressed a need to reshore manufacturing to address supply chain disruptions and de-link from China for national security reasons. Saddling manufacturers with a giant tax bill will hurt, not help our efforts. Targeting manufacturers for tax hikes make even less sense in the face of our surging inflation. Democrat tax hikes will curtail investment necessary to increase the supply of goods needed to meet consumer demands. This mismatch between supply and demand is what is actually driving our inflation. The potential harm to our economy is underscored by Penn Wharton's analysis of the Democrats' reckless tax and spending spree. They called out the novelty and uncertainty surrounding Democrats' book minimum tax, saying more work is needed to understand its impact on capital market efficiency and the economy. Penn Wharton's analysis also shows Democrats' proposals will do nothing to bring down inflation and is more likely to make inflation worse in the near term. Essentially, Democrats are gambling on untested and unproven policies while our economy is in recession, real wages are falling, and inflation is soaring. The truth is, Democrats' reckless tax and spending spree is bad for jobs, bad for the economy, and won't do anything to address what Iowans care about most, the rising cost of inflation. I urge my Democrats to rethink your approach. Stop gambling with our nation's economy. I yield the floor.